Kanyete, kindly lead the prayer dong by reading our opening prayer. Isa.
Okay, ma'am.
That's dong ha. Kajat. Share screen. Please confirm if my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am. Visible, ma'am.
Dear God, I praise you and I thank you for this wonderful day. Grant me the grace to
Start na, ma'am.
understand our lesson for today, through whatever media or modality may it be, and bless me so that I may appreciate this grace of being able to study despite of the challenges we are facing because of this pandemic. Make me realize the value of education and the beauty of learning so that each day I will be more motivated to do my responsibility as a student. Bless our classmates that they too may see your goodness in everything and see this time as an opportunity to show our love to our parents by studying well. Bless our teachers so that they will become more inspired to teach us and see this time as an opportunity to show compassion in their chosen profession. And lastly, our parents so that they may become resilient, especially during these trying times. This we ask in your most holy name. Amen.
In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. So again, good afternoon, everyone. Again, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon,
Good
ma'am.
afternoon,
Good
ma'am.
afternoon, ma'am.
Good
Afternoon,
afternoon,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Good afternoon,
Afternoon,
ma'am.
Good
ma'am.
afternoon. So may I request everybody to please make sure to open their camera the whole class duration. So before we proceed to our module 5, may I ask if you do have questions on module if you do have questions on module 4 regarding the causes of crime and as well as the explanation for the existence of crime. Do you have? Do you have any question?
Wala, ma'am.
How about the others?
No, ma'am.
How about the others? Do you have?
No, ma'am.
None, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Did you watch the
Ma'am.
new recorded video that I posted in the Google Classroom? Uy, did you watch ba?
Wala pa ko, ma'am.
Wala pa, ma'am.
Kay
Ako po, ma'am.
gitun-an sa module 1,
No,
part
ma'am.
1 ug part 2 ra man ako.
Yeah, because that's the coverage for the oral exam. But I'm asking you, did you watch the new recorded video that I have just posted? It,
Wala pa, ma'am.
I posted
Wala
it
pa, ma'am. Wala
yesterday.
pa,
Wala
ma'am.
pa, ma'am.
Anong wala man yun lang tawa? Again, it's very important that you need to check our Google Classroom. So after this, kindly open your Google Classroom and check the new attachment that I have provided. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Noted, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Hopefully.
Ma'am.
Okay, so now let's talk about biological causes of crime. Based in our previous discussion, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's module 1 under the midterm period. We have discussed that there are three segments of positivism. You do have the biological positivism, you do have your social positivism, and you do have your psychological positivism. So now our topic this afternoon focuses on biological positivism, meaning to say, it talks about factors that is inherited, factors that talks about the gene that somehow serves as an internal factor for the crime commission. So let's talk about three families so that you will appreciate the biological causes of crime. So first family in line is we do have the Duke family tree. Okay, so the the Dijuk family is consisted of six girls, and some of them are illegitimate. So there is a big difference between legitimate child and illegitimate child. So what's the difference between the two? Para you can see and appreciate. Okay. The difference between the two is that when you say legitimate child, meaning to say the child was born wherein ang iyahang mother and iyang father is legally married. Again, legally married. Munang matawag siya nga legitimate child. So, if you will ask your parents, ma, uh, gikasal nakasal ba mo ni papa o ni papa or 'di ba ni mama before ko gipanganak, if that happens, and the law itself recognizes the marriage sa inyong ginikanan as legal but pasabot, you are considered as legitimate child. But if you are born out of wedlock, kasi out of wedlock, gipanganak ka mo ginikanan dili kasado, okay, you are considered as an illegitimate child, meaning to say born outside marriage. So again, they do have six children and some of them are illegitimate. So Ada is of course usa sa mga anak. Unfortunately, Ada was regarded as the mother of criminals. Kay nganong na mother of criminals? Because out of the 1,200 descendants niya, iyang mga apupuhan, okay? For 75 years, they were able to found out that 280 were paupers. Usay but pasabutan paupers, meaning to say these are persons who are very poor. These are persons that has no money, living in street, and waiting for what's this, kana bang mga tabang coming from the government. So 280 nila are not successful, living on street, penniless. Then 60, unfortunately, are thieves, mga kawatan. 7 were murderers. 40 were other criminals, meaning to say they were associated to other criminal activities. Okay? And 40 were sexual diseases. So what are examples of sexual, sorry for my background, what are examples of sexual diseases? You do have STD, kanang mga sexually transmitted diseases. You do have herpes, you do have HIV, and you do have AIDS, and many more. So these are examples of sexually transmitted diseases. So as you can see, 40 sa iya mga descendants are into the trade of flesh. Okay? And then 300 infants were prematurely born, 50 were prostitutes, and 30 were prosecuted for bastardy. That is the primary reason why Ada was regarded as the mother of criminals, because majority of her descendants were considered as criminals, considered with sexual deviant behavior. Okay? And manifested with what's this, mga antisocial behavior. Another family in line which explains the biological causes of crime is you do have the Kalikak family. Ang Kalikak pud di mo si Martin, who is a soldier, nakahinagbo siya og feeble-minded girl. When you say feeble-minded, it is an example of a mental condition. It is an example of a mental retardation wherein your age is 18 but your what's this mental age does not equate to your chronicle age. Kasi but pasabot ana. Imo ang edad mature but imo ang panguna-una is bataot. Okay? So feeble-minded. So I will give you a very good another information about feeble-minded. Okay. So mm, kani ato makita, very simple definition. So it says here that a feeble-minded person is impaired in intellectual ability, affected with intellectual disability. So it talks about mental retardation. But then again, the term mental retardation is just a very broad type of explanation simply because there are different types of mental retardation. You do have idiot, you do have borderline. So dagkan siya kaayo and one of which is your feeble-mindedness. Another thing is um another thing is in psychology, feeble-mindedness is deficiency in intelligence. Mo ba itong giingon ko ganina that the chronicle age and the mental, what you mean by chronicle age? Meaning to say, this is your actual age. Actual age gikan sa pagpanganak nimo abot sa imong edad. Sa mo na imong tinuod edad. When you say mental age, it refers to your um intelligence quotient. Because if you are a rational human being, dapat, if you are 18 years old, your intelligence quotient should equate to your age. But if you are feeble-minded, as what I have mentioned earlier, there is intellectual disability mo nang dili tarong imong panguna-una. Alright? So I hope we are clear with that. So because he met a feeble-minded girl, they had an illicit relationship. Ganong gibutang direk illicit relationship because Martin is a married soldier, legally married. Nya kay Nikoan man nakakita maglain. Okay? So mo nang he had an illicit relationship with that feeble-minded girl. Unfortunately, with his illicit relationship, nakabuo sila og 489 descendants. Okay, and it so happened that out of 489, 143 inherited the feeble-minded state of the woman. Okay, kay 143 nila were feeble-minded nga descendants. Okay, and only 46 were normal. 36 were illegitimate, three had an epilepsy, three were criminals, and eight were kept in brothels. Do you know what is a brothel class? It is an example of a casa, commonly known as casa. Kana bang diya ipang-house ang mga prostitutes? Diya manulod ang mga lalaki and diya matig conduct og sexual pleasure. Okay, that is an example of a brothel. And 82 died in infancy. So as you can see, makita nato that coming from the Duke and Kalika family, makita nato that the criminal behavior, the sexual deviant behavior, and even the the intelligence quotient can be inherited, can be passed from one genes to another. With regards to the family of Sir Jonathan Edward, okay, si Sir Jonathan is a famous preacher. Okay? And since okay ang iyang background, ang iyapong wife is not feeble-minded, iyang wife has no issue with regards to her personality and temperament, no issue also with regards to her intelligence quotient, same with Sir Jonathan Edwards. So ang naitabo, based on the study conducted, walay bisag usa, even one wala gyud bisag usa sa iyang mga descendants, iyang kaapu-apu-apuhan, okay, that were associated in any forms of criminal activities. Wala pud nila bisag usa nga nga na engage to an illicit affair. Wala. In fact, the result sa iyahang descendants were very positive. Kaya nga naman, some of his descendants, ni Sir Jonathan, became presidents of US, became governors, and became famous preachers, teachers, and even writers. Usa may buot pasabot ana that in terms with the biological aspect, in terms with the DNA, in terms with the genes, it is not only the negative aspect that is being what's this given from one generation to another, but rather tanan na siya, gikan sa nawong, gikan sa attitude, gikan sa behavior, intelligence quotient, and even kanang mental retardation and mental illness. All of these are under the biological aspect or biological factor. Mo ba nang it's very important nga kamo pohon if you decide to have your own family, it's very important that you need to conduct a background check. Unsay butang pasabot that just for in case that your current girlfriend karon that you love so much or boyfriend that love so much, if makita nimo sa iyang family history nga nasa like kaliwat ug buang, so you need to prepare yourself also that there is a bigger possibility that your husband or your wife ba, your girlfriend or your boyfriend in the future, if facing no any form of crisis or challenges, pwede na siyang mo-trigger o mugawas iyang pagkakaliwat nga buang. Or if that does not happen, pwede ang inyong anak, inyong apo, o inyong mga descendants puhon-puhon, mugawas o mugawas ko na siya. Because always remember that in terms with the DNA, in terms with the genes, this is something that we cannot control. Una, it's very important that you need to choose your partner properly. Okay? Questions, clarifications? Do you have? But then again, we are just merely talking about biological aspect. But looking at the general context for crime being a social phenomenon, it is not only caused by the internal factor or biological factor, but we do have also, of course, our external factor like the environment, so on and so forth. But talking about biological, kay mo may topic na to, mo to siya. Questions, clarifications, do you have? Hoy, do you have?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
All right, so let's continue. Now let's have physiognomy. Okay, physiognomy is another area under biological positivism because it talks about the facial features. Binit sa itsura ba? It talks about the facial features in relationship to the criminal behavior. Kato bang i-discuss nato ni Cesar Lombroso nga he even emphasized that there are people that are considered as born criminal. Kaya nga naman, they do have the physical stigmata like droopy ears, skinadog na hung, lagyog mata, deformity in the face, dakog buna, taas ug sulang, so on and so forth. So these are all part of physiognomy. And in fact, he even mentioned nga kana kuno mga babae ba nga bunguton. Kada bang dagkan kayong buhok sa nawong? Na po
Albunon, ma'am.
balbunon, yeah. And there are also women nga na ay beard. Karang diri ba bungot na may ibang mga babae na ako in fact I do have. According to Cesar Lombroso, women with who are bearded na bungot are criminal inclinations has criminal inclination, meaning to say bigger possibility that they might what's this kana bang execute a deviant or a criminal behavior or an antisocial behavior. But that is only according to Lombroso. As what I have mentioned, there are some contributions of Cesar Lombroso that until in the contemporary setup, it is still applicable. It is still acknowledged to be valid. However, there are also contributions of Cesar Lombroso particularly on the born criminal, which is no longer acceptable in the society. Kaya kung makita nato, the more nga angayan ka, the more that you are associated to any deviant, criminal, or even antisocial behavior. Okay? Another is we do have the phrenology or craniology. So this area again is still under the biological positivism. So ang naitabuan niya kung ganina physiognomy, it talks about the facial features. Your phrenology or chronology talks about the formation of the skull, meaning to say that any deformity in the formation of our skull, it also affects the formation of our brain. So, kung ang imuhang skull is flat kayo diri or mubo kayo, okay? So therefore, it is also expected that your brain is also deformed. That there are certain areas of the brain that are also not properly developed. So always remember that I have mentioned this in our previous discussion that if there is something wrong with the brain, it affects the person severely. Again, if there is something wrong with the formation of the brain, it affects the person severely. Ngano niingon ko nga it affects the person severely? Always remember that our brain, kung atong gamiton ang computer as a metaphor, it serves as the CPU. It serves as the motherboard. Because remember, our brain, its responsibility is to receive information and process the information. Usay buot pasabot ana that if there is deformity, okay, or there is a problem with the formation of the brain affected by the formation of the skull, ang mahitabo is that na ay dako nga possibility that your brain will not function properly. So if your brain will not function properly, therefore, dili po na siya makahatag og eksaktong information. So mo nang ang uban might develop mental illness, napoy uban might develop mental retardation, or naapoy uban they might develop what's this kind of amnesia, or any form of possible outcome because of the deformity of the brain. Questions, clarifications? Do you have? Uy, are you still with me?
Yes,
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 ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any questions or clarifications?
None, ma'am.
Aptikag nan.
Nan, ma'am.